try to relate to the Middle East is the culture gap between America and the Middle East. This is something which Americans usually are not aware of, and they don't understand how deep is this problem. Just to give you a few examples to culture's problem. Some are sitting here with crossed legs, and it's okay. It's acceptable, it's nice, it's okay. If you go to Japan as a businessman or businesswoman, and you try to sell them something, anything, and you sit with crossed legs in front of Japanese, the last thing he will do is to buy something from you, because you are not a human being. Because in Japan, you sit with both legs attached to each other on the floor. Why? Because no real explanation, no logical explanation. But this is the culture in Japan. Somebody who sits like this in Japan is a savage. It's not a human being. Who understands it? Who can put it into a reason? Nobody. But this is the difference between the culture in the United States and in Japan. Another difference, you know, there are some groups in South America, in Africa, who go around either almost or totally naked. Tribes who live still in the forests, especially in South America. Once in a while we hear about another tribe which was found in the forests, rainforests of Brazil or something like this, and they are totally naked. For them, nudity doesn't mean anything. And this, I think, in this society, a man or a woman will not go totally exposed in the street, because the code of or dressing code here in this country is different. Maybe on the beach, okay, but not in public, okay, because this is the American culture, which is different from that culture of that place. And a dress code is something that's part of the culture. So who understands those who are going totally naked? Do they understand us? No. This is the difference between cultures. And you cannot project a scale of priorities, set of values from one society to another society. Because this is just like to take care of your, as I said to them, to Mr. Washington, to take care of your Chevrolet in a garage of BMW. It's a different culture, different tools, different instruments, different everything. You cannot use solutions which were tailored for a Chevrolet on a BMW. And I don't try to underestimate neither Chevrolet nor BMW, but it doesn't work when you come to find solutions which were tailored for one society, and you go to another society to tell them, hey, start dressing up. Why should they? Or start sitting with crossed legs in Japan. Why should they? This is the culture. This is how you have to accept it. The same thing is about the Middle East. The Middle East societies, and it's not one society, are totally different culture than the American culture. America was made by immigrants who came to this country. It's either us or our parents, or our grandparents, like Masha, or our grandparents, or even maybe one more generation. Okay, 4 generations, 5 generations. Okay, everybody who came here to this country came as individual, was detached from his homeland, left the culture of his homeland and came here to be an American. The Japanese the Chinese, the Europeans, the Afro-Americans, everyone came in a way or another to be an American in stages. To a degree that you see today the public sphere in America. And I don't ignore the problems which erupt here and there. Yet America has a story of success, of uniting individuals, and I emphasize the word individuals, who came in order to share the American dream of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And everyone can live with each other. Everyone sends his kids to the public school. They speak the same language. They have the same culture. And I would say the melting pot, which America is, did a very good job. Maybe not perfect, but definitely made a good job to a degree that you can see the American army fights wherever it fights. You can see the soldiers. Some of them are Afro-American, some of them are Caucasian, some of them are Chinese. You can see the different backgrounds, but they fight together. Why? Because they are Americans before anything else. And this is actually the story of success of this country. And this success was only because those people who came here came as individuals. And when you come as an individual, maybe you and your wife and your kids, you can mingle with each other, because one apartment is populated by somebody from Europe, another one from China, another one from Japan, the next door apartment, and the next door apartment is for Afro-American, and they all send the kids to the same school. After 3-4 generations, in many cases, the kids do not know where their grandparents or great-grandparents came from, because it's not important. We are Americans. Why should we look backward? We look forwards. And this is the success of America. The same thing you can say about Israel, because we Jews came from all over the world and we made a new society of Israelis, not British Jews or American Jews or Moroccan Jews or Afghani Jews or Russian Jews. We are Israelis. And this is because we came as individuals. And when you come as an individual, you can mingle with each other very easily. In Australia, the same thing. Means all these countries which are based on immigration, this is the characteristics of their society with differences. When you come to the Middle East, the societies were shaped in totally different way. Totally different way. 95% of the Middle East is a dry, arid desert. If you see the map of the Middle East, North Africa, starting with Morocco, Algeria, Libya, Tunisia, Egypt, then across the Red Sea, Saudi Arabia, there's all one giant desert. Unlike in this country, where you take a journey of 10 miles, you cross 2-3 rivers, which in many cases you can drink the water of these rivers. In the Middle East there are no rivers. There's only the Nile in Egypt, and the Euphrates and the Tigris in Iraq, and that's it. 95% of the terrain is a dry, arid desert. I once took a flight from Amsterdam to South Africa, and we crossed the Mediterranean, and we flew above Libya, and then down south to Africa. It took us, with a jumbo, 3 hours since we crossed the coastline of Libya until I saw the first tree. 3 hours with a jumbo means like 3,000 kilometers. 3,000 kilometers, which is like 2,000 miles. 2,000 miles, and this is the width of the Sahara Desert. If you took the length, it's 7 hours to fly. Until you see the first tree. Look at it, look out. How many trees you see here? Okay? And how many trees did you see on the way here? Okay, this makes a difference. Why? Because in the desert, if you want to survive, you need a source of water. It could be a spring, a well, a ditch, or some sort of water. Otherwise, you are dead, because you have to drink once in a while. And in order to, if you find a spring or dig a well or a ditch, you have to defend it. Because others are in the desert who also want the water, and they will kick you out because they also want to drink it, because they have to survive in the desert as well. So this is why the desert is always the place of wars. It's a place of wars, I would say constant wars, between people who need the water. If you are alone, you are weak. You have to be in a group. And what is the most powerful group, most consolidated group? A family. You and your brothers. In the second generation, it's the cousins who live together near a spring. So this is the cousins. The next generation is the second cousins. Next generation, third cousins. Okay? What do we have here? A clan or a tribe. Okay? And this is the basic cornerstone of societies in the Middle East, the tribe, which lives together in the area. They don't move because they have the source of water here. And they have a fighting militia to deter anyone who would like to take their water from them. They marry the daughters inside the clan, usually to the cousin, in big price of genetic problems, which they preserve. They have their leadership, they have their rights here. And it's actually a group which you cannot penetrate. You cannot convince to do something which they don't want. They are not individuals. They are a very consolidated group with a fighting militia armed to its teeth. And you don't mess with them. Because if you do, you are a dead man. Especially if they suspect that you want to take the source of water. Their laws is much more important than the state law. I'll give you two examples. Imagine that by accident, one of your cousins killed somebody in the road accident from another tribe. And he runs away because the police wants to catch him, and comes to you to hide him. So what will you do? What will you do? Will you give him in to the police? Never. Because loyalty to the tribe is much more important than anything else. You will dress him like a woman, and you will let him sit with the women, veiled, and when the police come to look for him, you say, hey, no, these are the women, you don't look them. So they will see that these are women, they will go away. And you saved him. According to the state law, you are a partner in crime. Because if you are hiding a killer, you are a criminal. According to the tribe, you are a hero. Because you did what you should do. How can you bridge between the law of the state and the law of the tribe? Another example. Imagine that you have a 22 years old daughter, and she allows herself too much with the boys. Okay? According to the state law, normal state law, modern state law, a daughter at the age of 22 can do whatever she likes, with whoever she likes, whenever she likes, because this is her body. Since 18, she's a free woman. According to the tribe, she's bringing shame on the family because she is having issues with boys. Okay? So, what will you do? Let her do whatever she likes, or punish her because she brought shame on the family, on the tribe. What usually will be her fate? To be slaughtered. As they say, Rasl al-Ar in Arabic, means washing the shame with her blood. which will come out from her vein when she is slaughtered. Okay? Why? Because the tribe law is much more important than the state law. That's what people call honor killing. I would say the shame killing. Because she brought shame on the family. Okay? So this is how a tribe behaves. Because they are not an individual who can change his culture once he moves to a place. So they don't move to anywhere. They live in this place, they could live forever, centuries, on the same place, because they are powerful, because they have the arms, because they are determined to defend the source of water, and you don't mess with them. And this is actually the Middle East. Violence is a very immediate tool to use. If you go to sleep, you put your hand on the sword. Because if somebody comes at night, you have to deal with it. Because he wants to chase you out and to take you on. And in modern times, you go to sleep with your AK-47, with the Kalashnikov. And whoever shoots the second doesn't shoot anymore. You know why? Because the first to shoot already killed him. Okay? This is why violence in the Middle East is such an immediate tool to use in every dispute, in every problem, because of this culture of tribalism. Just to show you the real map of a country which we hear much in the media, Iraq. Pass it.
There's 10 topics, there's one for
Just to have a concept, an idea, what the problems of Iraq are. This is the map of the tribes of Iraq. Everyone has its name, has its laws, has its territory. And the worst is that every tribe has its own militia, with machine guns, with RPG rockets. And this society, the Iraqi society, unlike this country, is not built by individuals. This is a combination of tribes. And this is the source of all evils. This is all the problems of Iraq. Because a man is loyal to the tribe before he is loyal to the state. And this is the problem. Second problem is, if you look at the map, these tribes in the northeast are Kurds, Kurdish tribes. They are not Arabs. The white marks in the middle are Turkmens, not Kurds, not Arabs, they speak Turkish. The pink ones in the southeast are Persians, and the rest are Arabs. So Iraq is divided to 4 ethnic groups: Arabs, Kurds, Turkmens, and Persians, divided to 75 tribes as shown in the map. In addition, some tribes are not even Muslim. They are other religions. In Iraq, there are 10 religions. There are Muslims, there are Christians, there are still Jews in the cities, no, remains of Jews, some hundreds, no more. There are Sabais, Mandays, Yazidis, which recently we heard about their calamities, Baha'is, Zoroastrians, Druze who ran away from Syria, Alawis who ran away from Syria, altogether some 10 religions. Some of them are viewed by Islam as infidels. who have the choice between converting to Islam or being shortened by hate. And some of them, of these religious groups, are divided to sects. Like the Muslims are divided between Sunnah, Shia, and Salafis and Sufis and all kinds of others. The Christians, sometimes there were 6 denominations in Iraq. Today there are only 2, 4 in a way altogether. So the Iraqi society is fragmented along 4 axes of division. The tribal division, as we see, the ethnic one, which is above the tribal, Kurds, Arabs, Turkmens and Persians, religions, Muslims, Christians and so forth, and sects, Sunnis, Shias and Christian denominations. The British, when they created this country, this state, in the 20s of the last century, like 90 years ago, they hoped that one day will come and they all will sit around one fire and will sing Kumbaya together. It never happened. It does not happen. And according to my humble assessment, it will never happen. The state, the Iraqi state, failed in its most important mission to settle in the hearts of the people and to replace their loyalties to the tribe, to the ethnic group, to the religious group and the sectarian group, to the state. To replace it in a way where they will all be Iraqis and not tribes, not Kurds, Arabs, Turkmens, Sunnah, Shia, Muslims, Christians, Yazidis and so forth. The state failed. In spite of the fact that they all carried Iraqi passports and were supposedly under Iraqi law, the state never became something which people identify with. And they will never sacrifice their loyalty to the traditional group to be loyal to the state. Only if they are the ministers or people who benefited from the state. There's a small minority. The majority of the people remained loyal to the traditional frameworks. Yes?
Can you explain the difference between a sect and an ethnic group? Like what's the difference between the Sunni Shiite split? And
Sunni Shia is Muslims, all Muslims. Look, the Kurds are Sunnah, for example, but they are different ethnic group. They speak in different language, but still they are Muslim Sunnah. Okay? So what? Are they loyal to the Sunnah or not loyal to the Arabs? Okay? Which line is more important for them? The sectarian line which combines them or the ethnic line which divides them? It is a big question. Okay, so this is where the problem of the Iraqi society. This is why, in spite of the fact that Iraq was given democracy by this country on a silver platter in 2003, the state is a mayhem. Yes.
An example of how being given democracy, there's still the soldier example.
I give you a good example for tribalism, as Masha reminds me. The American Marines in urban warfare, when they were going to Iraq between 2004, I think, and 2010. Because in Israel we have a facility for training in urban warfare. It's a whole city built just for in our base, just for training soldiers in urban warfare. So they were coming like 3 weeks, and during the day they were having all these drills in this base, and in the evening they were getting lectures. I was giving the lectures about every group of Marines. I gave them 2 lectures, one about Islam, one about the Iraqi society, and I told them about tribalism, what a tribe is. Now, the classroom is like, can hold like 200 soldiers, and the first war was with the officers who already were in Iraq. When I once told them about tribalism, one of the officers raised his hand. So I said, please. So he got up and he turned to the class and told them about his experience in Iraq, which was a few months earlier. He was in a unit which was training Iraqis to become policemen. They took a former, from one of the bases of the former Iraqi army, and they disseminated the information that they are recruiting people in order to become policemen. So people came from neighboring, from the neighborhoods, and they trained them. They had 2 buildings for the dormitories, and the Iraqis were living in these buildings, and during the day they were training. One night, the Americans they heard people shoot. So they thought that Al-Qaeda is attacking the base. So they grabbed the rifles and they grabbed the suits and the helmets, and they ran to the fences to fight those Al-Qaeda. But they hear that the shooting was coming from inside the base. So they ran after the noise. And they saw that between the 2 dormitories of these Iraqis, people are shooting each other. So they stood in the middle in order to stop the fire. So they stopped the fire and they called the chiefs, the commanders, or the important people there, to ask, what is this? Why do you shoot each other? What happened is that there are 2 tribes who live in this neighborhood. And when one tribe saw that the other tribe is going to the police, so he went also. They wanted in order not to leave the police in the hands of the other tribe. Because if the police will be in the other tribe, they will kill them. So they also went to the police. So naturally, one tribe went to one dormitory, and the other tribe went to the other dormitory. Apparently somebody stepped on somebody's toes during supper, and during the night the struggle, the dispute became more and more, and towards the morning they started to shoot each other. Okay? Now, this commander of the Marines says to his, look at us, how we look like. We look different from each other, but we cooperate. They are totally the same. They are Iraqis. They look the same, they speak the same, everything, and they shoot each other. Can you understand this? Okay, so this is the problem. Once tribalism is introduced into society, this is a very big problem. And this is why the map of Iraq is like this. And when invasion to Iraq in 2003 was meant to leave the country as it is, and this is the big problem. Because this country can live only with a dictatorship. Otherwise, they shoot each other. And bringing democracy, and I will speak about democracy a bit later. The same thing is in Syria. Syria also is divided to tribes and ethnic groups, sects. But in Syria, unlike Iraq is the ruler was a Muslim priest. Of course, he was Sunni from the minority, which is illegitimate. But in Syria, the Alawis who control the country because of the French mandate who gave them the power, the Alawis are not even Muslims. They are infidels. They are idol worshippers. I myself, I published a picture of a sanctuary of the Alawis with pigeons which they worship and a statue of Mother Mary. They revere Mother Mary as a goddess. They bow to her. I think that Christians would never relate to Mother Mary as a goddess. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, Catholics, but we have our proclivities, but yeah.
Okay, but not as a goddess. She didn't create the world, okay? But the Alawis do. Okay, they bow to her. So when a Muslim sees an Alawi worships a pigeon, which they are in that sanctuary, or Mother Mary, he he gets the goosebumps. Because this is sheer idol worshipping. And this is why today the Alawis are fighting in Syria. Not on the regime, not to remain in power. They are fighting for the connection between their heads and shoulders. Because an infidel, I'm not trying to be funny, because this is what happens in the Middle East. I don't know if you saw the clips, how the Yazidis and others and Americans and British are being decapitated by those jihadists. Why? Because this is the fate of the infidel. Like Alawi or Christian, what's the difference? There's no difference. So the outcome is that the main problem in the Middle East is that the state as an organization is illegitimate, as a framework is illegitimate because it's a combination of tribes, ethnic groups, religious groups, and sectarian groups, which was created by the colonialism, by Britain, by France, okay? And the regime is illegitimate because it's always a minority which rules the others with iron fist, like in Iraq, in Syria. And in Syria, this minority is not even there. And the same thing in Libya, the same thing in Sudan, the same thing in Yemen. Every country in the Middle East has this, or almost every country has these problems, genetic problems of illegitimacy, as they are. This is why they live on the source. They live on the FBI, the local intelligence, these countries. Israel is different. Israel is democracy of individuals. Totally different society, different kind of society, which succeeds to exist in the Middle East, in this unfortunate region. Islam as a religion was meant at the beginning to unite all the Muslims under one umbrella. The tribes of the Arab Peninsula, where it came to the world, the Islam started in the 7th century, in order to unite the tribes. Later, when they occupied other countries like Persians and the Turks and others, Islam was supposed to be the umbrella under which everybody will feel cozy with each other, and they will constitute an ummah, as they call it in Arabic, which is like in Hebrew, ummah means a nation, which people will be loyal to Allah only, not to the tribe, not to the ethnic groups, not to anything else, only to Allah. Means that every Muslim should feel like a brother or sister with other Muslim or men or women, without any difference. This is the idea of Islam. In this issue, Islam failed totally. Totally. Already in the days, 1 minute after Muhammad died, a war started, or a struggle started, on who will succeed him, who will replace him, between two clans of his tribe. His clan and another clan of the Umayyads, later known in the Umayyad dynasty. Later, another clan took over, the Abbasids. And they are all from the tribe of Muhammad. The Hashim clan, his clan, the Umayyad clan, and the others. And they were killing each other. Killing each other inside the tribe because of different clans. Persians were viewed always as mawali in Islam. Means people whom you can buy and sell. Means slaves. That's why the Persians are so angry at the Arabs. Until this very day, they hate the Arabs. And Arabs hate Persians. Persians call Arabs lizard eaters because they live in the desert. And what is there to eat in the desert if not lizards? Okay? So, this is how they denigrate each other. Islam failed totally in spreading peace and stability within the Islamic nations or in Islamic groups or Islamic tribes or whatever. And this is why they envy other countries, like America, which succeeded to unite people on the basis of ideology of the American dream of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. America is a story of success, while Islam is a story of failure. Look at the wars between the Sunni and the Shia. Look at the wars between tribes in Libya. Look at the wars between tribes in Yemen, in Sudan, not to mention Iraq, Syria. Everywhere the evidence that Islam failed. This is why they envy other countries and other cultures, and they hate them because they succeeded exactly where they failed.
So if Muhammad has never been to Jerusalem, why do Muslims want
I think I'll open the floor for questions in 2 minutes. And I'll start with this question. This is the source of the problem of Israel in the Middle East. We succeeded exactly where they failed. To constitute a state, democracy, and just about two words about democracy. Democracy is, I would describe democracy as a cake. And the ingredients of this cake are human rights, political freedoms, freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, women's rights, gays and lesbian rights, freedom of religion, freedom from religion. Everybody who doesn't want any religion doesn't need the religion. And elections. Let's assume these are the components of this cake, the ingredients of this democratic state, cake. If you go to Islamic countries or to Islamic societies, they view all these ingredients as things which cause allergy. What do you mean? Women's rights in Islamic societies? Since when a woman has a right to choose her spouse, her father marries her. Since when a woman has the right to do whatever she likes with whoever she likes? Okay? Women's rights are viewed as a very suspicious issue in Islamic societies. Freedom from religion. If a Muslim denounces Islam, what will happen to him? He will be slaughtered by his friends because he left Islam. It's totally unacceptable. And whatever, freedom of speech. Can you say something against Islam? Can you publish a cartoon against Muhammad in Islamic societies? Look what happens today in Europe. Okay? So everything which we believe in as ingredient of democracy, or most of the things which make democracy, are totally rejected by Islamic societies. This is why talking about bringing democracy to Iraq was some kind of stupidity. This is a solution which was made for Europe or for America, and you try to solve the Middle Eastern problems with the solution of Europe, which doesn't fit the society. Just like to take an American car and try to fix it in a Japanese garage. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. And look at Iraq, which was given democracy on a silver platter. They cannot take it because they don't think in democratic way. The culture is different, and you have to go with the culture rather than against it. I think I'll start with the questions, and this is Jerusalem. First of all, people keep saying that Jerusalem should be the capital of the Palestinians, or the Palestinian state. I would think that this demand is logic if they could show me in their own books of history when Jerusalem was a capital of anything which is connected to the Arab and or the Islamic world. Not for one day in history. Jerusalem was a capital of anything, not a king, not a caliph, not a sultan or emir or any ruler ruled from Jerusalem. Never for even one day in history. So historically, it's totally baseless. It was never a capital of anything, not to mention that there was never a Palestinian state. Okay? But even if we take the Arab world, it was never a capital of anything. This is the first thing. Second thing, if you compare it to the Judaism altogether, Jerusalem altogether was for almost 1,000 years a capital of 2 or 3 Jewish dynasties. First temple, second temple, and the Hasmonean dynasty as well. And this is documented not only in Jewish books, in Roman books, in Greek books. Okay? So this is nobody in the world tries to challenge the Jewish history in Jerusalem as a capital, not as a suburb town or something, as a capital. So when you take history of the Jews as it documented in books of other cultures, compared to the Arab or Islamic history as documented in their own books even, Jerusalem definitely, historically was a Jewish capital rather than Islam. Just that. Second thing is about the holiness of Jerusalem, which they claim that it's holy for Muslims. For this, Masha will have to bring me again next year when you come here, in order to describe the process which made Jerusalem holy for Muslims. But in a nutshell, first of all, Jerusalem is holy not for the Muslims, but only to the Sunni Muslims. While the Shia do not see Jerusalem traditionally as a holy city, for them, the holy city for the Shia is Najaf in the southern part of Iraq. Okay? So it's already a dispute between Muslims about the holiness of Jerusalem. Secondly, Jerusalem was sanctified by the Umayyads towards the end of the 7th century, not because Muhammad was there, he was never there. He dreamt maybe about there, but not about Jerusalem even. He dreamt about some other mosque, Al-Aqsa Mosque, which was not in Jerusalem at on those days. But Jerusalem was sanctified by the Umayyads in the year of 682, 50 years after Muhammad died, because they could not go to Hajj to Mecca, because of a rebellion in Mecca. So they took Jerusalem as an alternative place for Hajj for 8 years, but only because of these political problems with Mecca. So the whole sanctity of Jerusalem in Islam is a political issue, not connected to Islam or to the core of Islam, to a degree that some Islamic scholars, since they knew the origin or the political origin of the sanctity of Jerusalem, they actually preached against it. Because they knew it is some kind of substitute to Mecca in a struggle between the centers of Damascus, which took Jerusalem, and Mecca. So this whole thing is about politics, and I don't think that we should take it seriously. Of course, we have to refer them to their own sources, and to tell them, hey guys, show me, before you claim Jerusalem, show me in your books when Jerusalem was a capital of anything. Then come to us. Yes.
Do you think Europeans are oblivious to the rise of radical jihadism, or they're too PC to stand out against them?
I don't understand the question.
Do you think Europeans,
Europeans.
do you think that they're oblivious to the rise of the Islamic, just jihadist activism in Europe, or they're too liberal and PC to speak out against them?
First of all the above. Secondly, Europeans are, let's say, they let in the immigration of Muslims to Europe almost with no restriction. Today, the problem is within the Islamic communities in Europe, which did not become Europeans. I have a friend who ran away from Algeria. He is originally from Algeria, but he decided that he doesn't want to be an Algerian, he doesn't want to be an Arab, he doesn't want to be a Muslim, and he ran away from Algeria in the 80s, like good 30 years ago. And he went to France and he became French, totally French. You know, there are Algerians who came to France in order to become French, not to preserve their Islamic culture. And you know, there was a lady named Rashida Dati. She was the Minister of Justice in France, in one of the governments some years ago of Sarkozy, when Sarkozy was the president. And she was a single. She was like 35 years old. And one day she comes to a press conference with a wide dress. After a while, another press conference with wider dress. Okay? She was pregnant. And she was not married. In France, it's okay, because you don't ask. Women can do whatever they like. Somebody once asked her about this in a press conference, and she got on it. She started shouting at him, "What is your business? I'm French. I'm not Moroccan, I'm not a Muslim. I'm French. If I was blonde with my blue eyes, would you ask me also? You wouldn't. Okay? So she became French, totally French, to a degree that she can allow herself show a pregnancy without not being, with being unmarried. Okay? So there are many Muslims, many immigrants who came to Europe in order to become French, like my friend who emigrated from Algeria. But like 2 years ago, he started to complain that France starts to look more and more like Algeria. Public sphere, so many Muslims can go around with the veil, and all kinds of issues which Muslims have there in France. And he came to a conclusion that Algerians do not move from Algeria to France. They move Algeria to France. And there's a bit of difference between moving to France as individuals or moving Algeria to France. And unfortunately, what you see today in Europe is that Europe, and what we have during the last two weeks, is something a writing which was on the wall. You just had to read it because it was in Arabic. And they couldn't read it. They were oblivious of these things. That's why they let so many Muslims come to Europe and change. And you know what? Let me tell you something. I think that America is behind Europe in a time lag of 15 years. Because what you see today in America, in Islamization of this country, and I can give you all information about this, was in Europe 15 years ago. So if you want to see how possibly will America look in 15 years from now, look at Europe today. Possible. If not 15, 20 years. Yes. Only recently the leader of the Muslim Brotherhood of Jordan, who was not allowed to enter this country for 11 years, was given a visa to come to the States and to settle here and to continue his activity of the Muslim Brotherhood. And we'll elaborate on the Muslim Brotherhood. Yes, sir.
Would you say that ICE is sort of filling the role that democracy failed in uniting the Muslims against like the great Satan of America?
Look, the problem is that some people here do not see the reality. Muslim Brotherhood was established in Egypt in 1928 as an organization which, in a nutshell, wants to achieve three things. One, in that time in Egypt was occupied by the British of those years, to kick out the occupation of the infidels. The second thing is to kick out the culture of the infidels which infiltrated into Egypt those days, especially when it comes to women. women's in work, women's in education, how they look without the veil. And you can see the logo of the Muslim Brotherhood with the two swords. Okay? Now, the one word, Muslim Brotherhood, is in white, is Muslim Brotherhood. Down here, or up here, you have the Quran. Down here, you have one word. In Arabic, wa'a'iddu. Who understands Arabic here? Wa'iddu means in Arabic, and prepare. And prepare. Wa is vav chibur. Wa'id and prepare. As an imperative. What does it mean? And prepare. And this is the logo, which is something important. This word, wa'idu, appears in the Quran only once. Only once. And the Quran is here on the logo. So, if they quote this word, it means that they quote that verse which starts with this word. Right? Imagine if somebody says in some Jewish logo, Bereshit. What does it mean? The first verse of the Torah. Bereshit bara Elohim et Hashem et haaretz, because this word appears in the whole Bible only once. So if you use the word Bereshit, definitely you hint to that verse. The same thing is here. So what is the verse which they hint by this word? Wa'id. You can look for it and you'll see. This verse says, and prepare against them, against the infidels, whatever you can from power and bound horses, in order to strike terror in the hearts of the enemies of Allah and your enemies. This is the verse. And prepare against the infidels. Whatever you have from power and bound horses. I don't know if you know what the bound horse is. Imagine a horse which wants to run towards you and somebody holds him. What happens if he leaves him? The horse is on you. Okay? It's not pleasant. So, this, to strike terror in the hearts of the enemies of Allah and your enemies. Strike terror. This is the verse. And this explains what the swords are. Okay? In order to strike terror in the hearts of their enemies. And this is the Muslim Brotherhood, an organization which was established in 1928, like 85 years ago. All the organizations which you hear today, Al-Qaeda, ISIS, Hamas, the Nahda in Tunisia, and many, many others, the Jabhat al-Nusra in Syria, all these organizations are daughter and granddaughter organizations of the Muslim Brotherhood. The same ideology, the same goals to get rid of the occupation of the others, means of the infidels, to get rid of the culture of the infidels which infiltrated into our societies, especially when it comes to women, and to spread the Sharia law as it was at the beginning of the Muslim Brotherhood in 1928. All these organizations, whether more militant or less militant, these are their goals. Now, during the years, they developed the infidel not only to a British or a Jewish or American who occupy our lands, it's also the collaborators, our collaborators who collaborate with others, like the Egyptian regime, the Syrian regime, and the Iraqi regime, and all these regimes who collaborate with the world, means that jihad, which the Muslim Brotherhood believe in, is not only against the Jews, Christians, and other nations, it's also against their own leaders who collaborate with the infidels. Okay, this is another thing which was created during the 60s by a guy named Sayyid Qutb, and he published a book and said that jihad should be waged against the that time Egyptian President Gamal Abdel Nasser, jihad should be against Gamal Abdel Nasser. So he knew him. Gamal Abdel Nasser knew the guy. They were friends in childhood. So he invited him to a discussion in his palace. Do you really mean that jihad should be against me? Gamal Abdel Nasser asked him. So he said, yes, because you don't implement the Sharia in Egypt. So Gamal Abdel Nasser says, look, it's either me or you. We cannot live in one place when you call upon others to wage jihad against me. So Said Qutb said, do whatever you think. The next day he was winding from a rope. Okay? He was hung up the next day. Why? Because he preached to wage jihad against Gamal Abdel Nasser. This was 1966. Yes.
So when I'm at my school, like a couple friends who are Muslims, and they say like ISIS and stuff. That's not them. That's not Islam. So how do you respond to that?
Look, there are many, many Muslims all over the world who are good people, peaceful people, nice people who came to wherever they came in order to become Americans, French, Belgians, or whatever. They are like everybody else who came from wherever they came, from whatever culture they came, in order to become Americans. Okay? I have nothing against them. They are good people, and they will become Americans, contribute to the American economy, American society, American culture, and everything. They are just like Jews, just like everyone else. The fact that they are praying to Allah, it's not so much difference from my problem, my issue that I pray to God, and the Christians and so forth. Okay? As long as they become Americans, as long as they adopt the American values, mindset, okay, priorities, and they become Americans. I don't care who they pray for. It's not my business. It's their issue. Okay? The problem starts when Muslims start to promote Islamic issues on the expense of the state. Let's say Sharia law. Sharia law is as far as it could be from the halakha. The halakha deals with what you eat and what you drink and how you celebrate your holidays and when you have kids with your wife. That's all. Halakha has nothing to say about the public sphere because the Jewish halakha doesn't relate to others who do not accept the halakha. It's not their business. It's our business. While the Sharia has definitely what to say about Jews, about Christians, about the others. Okay, so this is what the difference between the Jewish halakha and the Sharia. The Sharia tries to impose Islam on others, whether in good way, like da'wah as they call it, calling for Islam, or if they refuse, by force. So there are unfortunately some people who try to compare between the halakha, the Jewish halakha, and the Sharia. It's totally different. The Sharia is the prescription. How to turn the world into Islamic world. Jews do not try to do anything. Jews try to preserve their own culture. And this is the difference. And when you start to detect that Muslims come to a place not in order to become Australians, Americans, and so forth, but to turn the place into Islamic place, this is where the problem starts. So, look, I once said in Australia, if a group of Israelis will come to Australia to become Australians, to become part of the Australian society, the Australian fabric, it's okay, just like here. But if they come in order to turn Australia into a Jewish state or Zionist state, I don't think that Australians should tolerate it. They should put them on some airplane and send them back to Israel, where they will feel much more comfortable. Australia has its own culture. Australia doesn't need Israelis to come and turn Australia into a Jewish and or Zionist society. Okay? I say it out loud. The same thing with Chinese. If a Chinese, in order to become an Australian, to contribute to the economy and society and so forth, why should anybody have any problem? But if some Chinese come to Australia in order to turn it into a communist country, I'm not sure that the Australians should tolerate it. So Australia has a culture, it doesn't have to be communist. Okay, they should maybe put those Chinese on an airplane back to China. In China they will feel much more comfortable. Okay? The same thing about Muslims. The same thing, just like I talk about Israelis and Chinese, Muslims. If they come to Australia to become Australians or Americans here, it's okay with